right, what's up? What's up, everyone? It is another episode of Inside the Hoosier Mind, and today I have a very special guest making his first ever appearance here on my show. I got the man himself. I got Pride, host of Prideful Takes. Pride is a huge Patriots fan. He's kind of a casual football fan, though, as we like to give him a lot of crap for. But good dude, great guy, Pride. I'm happy to have you on, man. How you doing?
I thought I wanted that to be my first sentence here. I'm just glad, I'm humbled, and I'm grateful that a savant, an expert, a high IQ specimen, my general, has allowed a common simpleton, a casual, as you so nicely put it, on his show. This is the apex, the zenith. This is as high as I get in life. I can die now, and my life is complete. Thank you for having me, Tony.
Hey, man, I appreciate it. And GD Pride, if you know, man,
Ah!
got him.
Oh, what a time to be alive.
But man, it has been a crazy last 24 hours because we had one heck of a good college football weekend with a lot of surprises. We had a lot of good NFL games with a lot of surprises. We now no longer have any undefeated teams in the NFL. Every team has a blemish now on their record. And we also had a crazy Monday Night Football game to cap everything off. But we're going to do the weird thing here on the show. We're actually going to go in reverse. We're going to put it in reverse, Terry. And we're going to talk about the latest news that popped up today. And Julio Jones flying like an eagle. He signed with the Philadelphia Eagles basically to be wide receiver 3 over, Quez Watkins and whoever the heck else Philly has there that isn't A.J. Brown or Devontae Smith. Pride, your thoughts on the Falcons legend going to another bird team, and what do you think this does for the Eagles?
So first and foremost, I like Julio Jones. I really do. I'm a huge fan of his. But if you're a casual fan like me and you hear that, this puts the Eagles over the top. They are now fully unstoppable. If you look at it simply by its, straight up name value type of thing. But the reality of the situation is you're saying that he's fighting for that third spot, and that's a best case scenario. If we're going to be completely honest here, that is the best case scenario. Because respectfully, I like Quez Watkins in that third slot. I like him there. I really do. Because a lot of the times that he gets open. Now, granted, let's be honest here. Regardless who's your third guy, it's either going to be A.J. Brown or Devontae Smith. Devontae Smith. And that's kind of what we need to understand. Does this kind of put them over the top? No, not really. I think this is just – it's a very good move in terms of – it's to a lesser degree when the Cowboys brought in Stephon Gilmore.
Mm-hmm.
And they were like, look, yeah, we'll let you play, but the reality is you're here for leadership first and foremost.
Yeah.
That's what you're here for. You might get us a player or two, and that's great. But your number one job here is leadership, and especially with the young guys we got here, you are to help elevate them. Because think about it. In terms of wide receiver, outside of A.J. Brown and what's that bum's name? He's a bum. His last name begins with a Z. He's literally a bum.
Oh, Zacchaeus?
Yeah, Zacchaeus. Yeah, that fucking bum. Excuse my French. But outside of them, no one else has played a minimum of 5 years in the league. No one else has. The next closest is Quez with Ford. We already know this is Smith's third year in the league?
Yes.
You know what I mean? So it's like they a lot of the guys that they have in terms of depth are young. So This just looks to me like it's just a leadership move. Let's bring him in. He's still well respected. If you expect him to do anything else than not, that was the issue we had toward the end of his tenure with Tennessee, with his tenure in Tampa Bay, and also towards the end of his tenure with Atlanta. It was the injury thing. So that's all this really is to me. It's just let's bring him in. It's a cheap deal. We don't have to get rid of anyone. Great leadership. I don't hate it. I'm not against the move, but in terms of bringing production on the field, it doesn't do much.
Yeah. And so I actually looked at it. So apparently the Eagles signed him to their practice squad. And I know we had talked about it a little bit before with Quez Watkins. So he's actually on the injured reserve right now. So Zacchaeus is technically their wide receiver 3.
What a bum.
Behind Brown and behind Smith. And yeah, Zacchaeus has been one of those, even when Zacchaeus was with Atlanta, it was a lot of inconsistencies more than anything. So, for him being your number 3, you're like, the potential is there, but the production hasn't been there so far. I agree with you. I don't hate it. I like Julio. I remember watching Julio. He's one of those guys that you look at what he dealt with Atlanta, and just the fact that Atlanta choked probably the worst case ever in the Super Bowl, and probably going to be one of their few chances they ever go to a Super Bowl. And they absolutely choked it, and that was probably his greatest chance of being able to get a ring. And unfortunately, it looks like he may or may not be able to retire without one. I do like the move. I think if anyone could probably learn from him the best, it would probably be AJ, just because of how similarly they're built. AJ's 6'1", he's 226. Julio's 6'3", he's 220. So a lot of the size and whatnot is there. And obviously, AJ's an extremely well-off established wide receiver, but it doesn't ever hurt to have that type of mentor there in the building with him. So I don't hate it. I do kind of wonder, though, what random number Julio Jones is going to take now, because 6 is gone, 8's not there, 11's not there, 2's not there. Like, I'm just waiting for Julio to break out some weird, odd number that just doesn't fit Julio whatsoever.
7.
No, Hassan Reddick has 7. He can't even be 7. He can't be 5. He can't be 4.
9?
Are they really going to disrespect Big Dick Nick and give his number away like that? That man won them the Super Bowl.
I'm trying to think, like, what number really? I mean, Hurts is 1, big play slays 2. And they do have 9s open. 12.
Ooh, yeah, but I don't know if they really give 12 out because of Randall Cunningham. And actually, I don't even know if they retired that or not because of Cunningham.
15?
You could do 15, I think. Oh, no. 15's retired.
What retired numbers do they have?
That's what I'm pulling up right now. Okay, so Philadelphia Eagles retired numbers. 5, 15, 20, 40, 44, 60, 70, 92, 99.
He'll do 12.
Yeah,
Because 12 is basically because you said number 5 is retired, and what else was retired?
15.
And 15?
Yep. Which are really the only 2 numbers that would apply.
I was about to say, yeah, that's it. Those are like 15. Yeah. So yeah, he would have to be 12. Unless he goes to the league, threatens to release a dossier that exposes Roger Goodell. And let's just have the never mind. I was gonna have him be 69, but Landon Dickerson.
Yeah, the guard.
Yeah, keep it, brother. Keep it, brother.
Gotta keep 69. Got
keep it, Dickerson. I keep it. Keep it. You got it.
Can't get much better than that.
Yeah, he'll probably come out in like maybe 12. Well, I mean, there are some numbers in the 80s that are open, I think.
Yeah, I think 80s. I think 80s are pretty open. And it's hard. It's rare you ever see a wide receiver now wearing the 80s. It's always it's always more the team digits now.
He better come out here with 80. Let's see. Let's give him 83. Let's give him 83. Move on with our lives.
83. They could slap Zach Ertz in the face and be like, here's 86.
Yeah, bump Zach Ertz. Nah, someone else has it. A bum. One of their bums got it.
Ah, damn.
Bum wide
Man,
receiver got 86.
at least if they're going to do it, give it to somebody respectable like AJ, like Julio. I'd be like, okay, Julio got it. Yeah, I'm good with that.
Nah. Now, if I'm Julio, you know what I do?
Hmm.
I feel like going there. I slap Jalen Hurts. I'm number one. I ain't Dick Upton now.
That or you gonna slap Marcus Mariota? Say no, give me that number 8. You ain't number 8.
And then after that, after he stops Jalen Hurts goes out numberless.
No,
not even a 0. He's numberless.
Just blank. Like everybody knows who you are. You don't need a number. You're fine.
Yeah, Hurts. That's it.
But anyway, as much as I hashtag fuck Philly because I can't stand the Eagles, we gonna move on to my favorite team, and we're gonna talk about the Monday Night Football recap of the Chargers losing to the Cowboys 20-17. Pride, what's your thoughts on this? Because it was a very odd and ugly game, basically
sure.
all the way to the very end. Like it was weird. It was full of defenses that bend but don't break type of thing. It was weird. And even Joe Buck and Troy Aikman, as much as everybody can't stand them, listening to how they talk, Joe's like, "What's wrong, Troy?" And I'm like, "Why are y'all doing this? This is live TV. This is the biggest game right now, and y'all just being weird. Stop it. Get some help."
Yeah,
Pride, your thoughts.
It was a very hard game to watch. And I don't mean to say that because like I'm not the biggest Cowboys fan, but it really was a hard game to watch from both sides. Like both offenses were very, very disappointing. The only good thing from Dallas, offensively, the only good thing was week 1, they gave CD some love. Since then, the man has been dog water in terms of targets. Like they've been virtually ignoring him. And they went back to targeting him, right? He had 7 targets, brought in all 7, a buck 17. And I unfortunately no touchdowns, but hey, listen, the buck 17 you take when you can get it.
Yeah, well, the to come with it.
Yeah. So you know what I mean. Trust me, I wouldn't be complaining if I was him. But it does seem like now they're getting CeeDee Lamb back involved after 3 weeks of disappointing targets to the point that it felt like he was constantly getting phased out. Other than that, from Dak Prescott, it was just a very nonchalant game manager type of performance, which is unfortunate because he can't afford that.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like he can't. Like this was the game that he needed to step up and put everyone on his back and be like, "Yo, I understand the last few weeks I've been suspect. This is where I redeem myself." And it was a very, very pedestrian-ish kind of game for him. You know, there were opportunities where he could have. I mean, I'll give him credit. He ran. Like he ran.
Oh, like yeah, usually, he was their leading rusher.
Right. So usually he's kind of like, "Oh, I'm scared to do anything well or whatever." Like he ran, and he even got a rushing touchdown to his credit. So I am seeing some nice things, from Dak. But respectfully, man, this is one of those games that if you're a fan, hey, you're excited that you won. You were at risk of being 3-3, and then things would have been looking ugly. 4-2, it's great, but when you actually watch the game, it was hard. It was. And Tony, if this is just me being a hater, I need you to let me know. But I walked away with more answers from the Chargers than I did Dallas. And I don't mean to jump ahead because we're gonna get to the question marks about the Chargers. We're gonna get there in a few minutes. But for Dallas, I mean, it didn't make me look at them in terms of we gotta respect them more, and it didn't make me look at them as like they're charlatans. It honestly just looked like I guess there was a game on Monday night. That was just like the sloppiness of the game, both from both offenses. You know what I mean? Because Justin Herbert, I expected him to be better. And he kind of had, if Dak Prescott was pedestrian, Justin Herbert was terrible.
Yeah.
He was absolutely terrible. Now they're saying it's because of an injury. I don't know, man. I don't know, because I like Justin Herbert, but Christ Almighty, man, it offensively it was a very hard game to watch.
Yeah. And no, I mean, I agree wholeheartedly. I took a couple things away from this, even as a Cowboys fan. It's still a typical Mike McCarthy, very undisciplined team. And I say that because the amount of penalties the freaking offensive line was getting. That offensive line is old. They're beat up. They're not healthy. This is not the offensive line of old. As a Cowboys fan, and I may or may not get some hate from this, it's time to let Tyron Smith go. He's not the guy that he used to be, many, many years ago. And keep in mind, for everybody that is confused as to why I would say get rid of our quote-unquote premier left tackle, he was drafted in 2010. He's 33 years old. And Brian, do you know the last time he actually played a full 16-game season?
It's been like, what, 3-4 years?
Oh, no. You want to try it one more time?
Nah, brother, I'm scared now.
Okay.
Brother, I'm scared. No, it can't be more.
The last time he played all 16 games was 2015.
Brother.
Yeah.
Oh my, and to kind of piggyback off it, because I know like it's not like he's just missing a game or two because of rest.
Yeah.
Like he's missing these because of legit long-term injuries.
Yes.
So it's not like he's just like he just tweaked his wrist. Let's give him a breaker. We locked up seating and no matter what happens, it doesn't matter if we win or lose. Let's rest him. No, this is stuff that he's going under the knife for.
Mm-hmm.
So and respectfully, I don't mean to be rude, but you said a premier. He's not that. He ain't premier anymore.
Not anymore, no.
No, he was back in the day. He was phenomenal.
Yep.
But now I don't listen. I'm not mad with you saying that. Now, some Dallas fans who kind of are a little too attached to him would kind of want you crucified for that. But you're not crazy for saying that, because eventually you're gonna have to move on from him eventually.
Yeah. Like he turns 33 on December 12th. So like I said, last time he started all 16 games was 2015. He played 13 games in 2016. 2017 also played 13 games. 2018 started 13. 2019 started 13. 2020 he started part of the games. October 9th, he announced that he would forgo surgery. He would actually end the rest of his time on injured reserve. 2021, he started 11 games. Then 2022, he got injured during training camp, and then only was able to start 4 regular season games and the 2 playoff games in 2022. So it's like again, like you said, back in the day, you can't beat the dude. I mean, he's 6'5", he's 320 pounds. He's an 8-time Pro Bowler, 2-time first team All-Pro, 2-time second team All-Pro. Like, dude is an absolute monster.
Mm-hmm.
But he's drafted in 2011. It's 12 years ago. He's played hard. He's been used hard. Pause. But yeah, there was that. And then defensively, too, there was a lot of penalties. It was, again, as star-studded as the defense has been, with the exception of, obviously, the games against the 49ers where the Cowboys were absolute dog water, and for whatever reason against the Cardinals, this was a defense that was also extremely undisciplined. And I'm like, wait a minute. Dan Quinn comes in, this is, semi getting fixed, and then now all of a sudden you guys are just, getting penalized, left and right. And it's not even, I can't even sit here and say, oh, it's the refs. No, it's you guys. Because I'm watching it. I'm like, no, that's legit. You're getting penalized for the right reasons. So they had 11 penalties for 85 yards.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's ridiculous. But I'll be honest with you, Pride. The very first drive, when I watched it, Tony Pollard got a whole whopping 1 yard. Then he got 3 yards. and then Dak gets sacked for an 11-yard loss by Khalil Mack. And I'm like, oh, okay, this is how this game is going to go. Then the Chargers march down the field, get a touchdown. I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm turning this off for a little bit. And after that, Dallas responds with a touchdown, and then it was punt, turnover on downs, punt, and then Dallas ended the half with a field goal.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second half got a little bit more interesting. Chargers did turnover on downs. Dallas punted. Then the Chargers got a field goal. Dallas got a touchdown. Chargers punted, that punt was weird because the Chargers pushed into the Cowboys, thought that it was touched, but then the Cowboys do touch it because they think it's touched. Then they end up giving the ball over. Chargers get an easy touchdown. Dallas gets field goal to go up 20-17, and then the Chargers, Justin Herbert gets sacked by Micah Parsons, and then picked off by Stephon Gilmore to end the game.
Mm-hmm.
I was kind of the same way. To me, Dallas still doesn't truly have an identity as to what they're truly good at, because the defense has been good against, and I don't even want to call the Chargers a bad team, but the defense has been fantastic against the bad teams. And against the one good team and against one bad team, they've looked like crap. And to me, the offense has been extremely lackluster, and the only thing they've been able to make up for it so far has been the defense. Now, I will say on the Charger side, it's funny. They said this last year not last year. Was it last year? Yeah, it was last year. Or maybe year before last. The Cowboys the last time the Cowboys faced the Chargers, they faced them in SoFi. They beat them 20-17 in the same score. But the fact of how similarly these teams mirror each other. However people feel about Dak and however people feel about Justin Herbert, they have two pretty good starting quarterbacks, pretty decent running backs. Their wide receiver cores are stacked. Defensively, they've got big names. And for whatever reason, neither team can put it together to actually make it work.
Yeah, for me though, it's like for Dallas, I just think it's like honestly, I call it the Jerry Jones effect.
Yes.
What happened? This is kind of where the whole Jerry Jones effect started. It started, Tony. You remember this when Jimmy Johnson and came out and said, we mutually agreed that I would no longer be the head coach for the Dallas Cowboys.
Mm-hmm.
He then brings in Barry Switzer. And they go and win a Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
And then everyone was like, Jerry's a genius.
Mm-hmm.
Because he picked all the guys. He had a different coach. And then no one wants to talk about the decline afterwards. That in Barry's last year, they went under 500 and he split. But nobody wants to talk about that. But anyway, ever since then, Jerry Jones has had this cachet where anybody he looks at, someone always goes, he's right.
Mm-hmm.
And he's been riding it ever since that. He built a great dynasty back in the day. Phenomenal. Mwah. Chef's kiss. It was one of the all-time great dynasties in the history of, forget football, of sports. It was a phenomenal dynasty. But the reality of it is since then, he's been trying to remake that same dynasty with parts that won't work. And what people kind of forget is, and it's easy to kind of watch this from the, it's easy to forget about it now. Troy Aikman was looked at by everybody as a franchise quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
When he was in Oklahoma, everyone was wondering, why don't they throw the ball with him? Why does Barry Switzer want to run this wishbone up? What is like? Why would you open up a full-blown scholarship for this kid and never throw the ball?
Mm-hmm.
Right? He leaves, then obviously everything is right. But everyone knew he was going to be great. Yeah. Every single person he brought into that organization, everybody knew they were phenomenal. Everybody, whether you were drafted there like Troy Aikman and Michael Irvin, or if you were brought in there like a Dion,
Charles Haley,
yeah, like regardless if he had drafted, the consensus was that they're great. He didn't get a Tom Brady and kind of mold him into what he is. or what Green Bay did with Aaron Rodgers. Because even though Aaron Rodgers had talent, nobody really believed in Aaron like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Same thing to an extent. So sort of kind of with Drew Brees, right?
Yeah.
Balling out in Purdue, San Diego takes him, but there was still some question marks around Drew Brees.
And then they kind of the same thing. They draft a guy that they feel, okay, Drew got hurt. We don't know if Drew's going to be able to career-wise be the guy, so we're going to draft this guy just in case because we don't really feel you're the dude anymore.
Right. So it's like something, but for Jerry, it's always been everyone is saying the same thing. So there really hasn't been that many risks for him. And he's been riding that wave ever since. So now when he's telling people Tony Romo is a Hall of Fame quarterback, the Dallas fans are buying it. Because, hey, look at the dynasty he built. Dakota Prescott is the next generation of it. They're feeding right into it. Even when Ezekiel Elliott was his final years when he was basically trash, everyone was like, nah. Jerry got something with him. Jerry got something with him. So he's been kind of riding this. So it's just that Jerry effect with Dallas. With the Chargers, it's the Brandon Staley effect. That mofo is doo-doo. You got to get that MFer out here quick, fast, and in a freaking hurry. Because now they're starting to be talented. Now they got something. They got a young gunner, the young whippersnapper. Keenan Allen can still give you something. Austin Eckler can still give you something. They got guys. They have guys. Right? Obviously, they don't really use him like that. But Donald Parham, occasionally he'll have a couple games where you'll be like, oh my God, he looks nice, right? Eventually, I hope they use Quentin Johnson, but they probably never will. I'm not even gonna go into that, but they got youth. But Brandon Staley is just a brain dead MFer, bro. He's brain dead. So it's like it's the Jerry Jones effect. It's like the owner versus the head coach.
Yeah,
it's like the owner who wants everything done his way, and the head coach who doesn't even know his own way.
Yeah, and no, I mean you're exactly right. And I'll say this too: if there is one thing Jerry Jones is good at, even post dynasty, Jerry Jones is a tremendous salesman.
Oh yeah,
I swear that man could sell a snowball to an Alaskan Native American.
100%. I'm gonna say this right now. If you leave me in a room with Jerry Jones long enough, I will come out screaming the earth is flat. You leave me in a room with this man long enough, and I'm telling you, bro, I will straight up say, yeah, bro, dinosaurs never existed.
Yep.
Those fossils, not real.
Because he can sell it with no problem.
Dude, yeah. See that's one of the reasons why, like usually when people tell me, when they ask who, do you want to be with can you meet a famous person? Someone says Jerry, I say Jerry Jones is the last dude I want to be in a room with.
Yep.
And they think it's because I hate him. It's like, no. This man will have me believe in anything.
Everything.
Like,
anything that man tells you.
Yeah. Like you can if I'm around him long enough, I'm jumping out airplanes screaming, I believe I can fly.
Yep.
This man is dangerous, bro. I cannot be near him too long because he'll have me doing some stupid stuff.
And for anybody that is a Cowboys hater that doesn't necessarily believe me, so this is according to Forbes, okay, the Forbes list on the world's, not even the Americans, the world's most valuable sports team, ranked by Forbes. The Dallas Cowboys are number one, and they're valued at $8.12 billion. The second closest team is the New England Patriots, valued at $6.4 billion. Like Pride said, truly is the Jerry Jones effect that man could go down to hell and sell fire to Satan, and Satan would be like, "Oh, goddamn, how about them Cowboys? Look at this fire. How about them Cowboys?"
Yo, he'll go to hell, sell Satan fire, and Satan will be talking about what a bargain. Like that's how slick Jerry Jones is, bro.
He's got to be. But no, I mean, it is kind of sad too when you look at the history of the Chargers, because again, to me, the Chargers and Cowboys are mirrored so much. Because tell me the last time whenever you looked at the Chargers roster or the Cowboys roster from any years, you look at these rosters and say, damn, there's no talent on this team anywhere. There's no star power anywhere on this team.
You got it.
You got it. You look at, heck, look at the early 2000s. You had Phillip Rivers. You had LT. You had Antonio Gates. Vincent Jackson there for a little bit. You had even Keenan Allen in his younger days with Phillip Rivers and Antonio Gates and all them. And then you look on paper today. They've got Herbert, they've got Eckler, they've got Keenan Allen, they've got Mike Williams, who unfortunately has been very underwhelming since coming out of college due to injuries, and then I don't know if it's just effort, attitude, or what. They got Quentin Johnson out of TCU. Then defensively, Joey Bosa, Khalil Mack, Derwin James, Kenneth Murray, they're stacked. But like you said, with Brandon Staley, it's like, yeah, I don't really need to be aggressive right now, but I'm going to be aggressive. Oh, crap, it cost me the game. Oh, God, what do I do now? And then on the other hand, being a Cowboys fan, I will say with Mike McCarthy, I watch him in clock management, and I'm like, dude, I swear to God, during the bye week, you need to be playing Madden 24/7, and I swear to God, you will learn how to manage the freaking clock. That's all you got to do, man. Just play Madden. I will give you my Xbox and Madden if you just learn how to freaking time manage. It's all I'm asking you to do. But with keeping on that topic, Pride, we'll kind of move on, at least from the Cowboys, and stick still with the Chargers. So the Chargers actually came off of their bye, lost this game. They're now sitting 2-3. Obviously behind the Chiefs in the division. The Broncos obviously are a mess. The Raiders, for whatever reason, Josh McDaniels owns Bill Belichick. Why? I don't know. Even though that man is garbage as a head coach, he can beat Bill for whatever reason. Their next game is against the Chiefs. Now, obviously, the Chiefs, it's not a guaranteed win because the Chiefs have been struggling so far this year. Pride to you, if the Chargers lose to the Chiefs, then they're going to be sitting there at 2-4. And then their next game after that is against the Bears, so they could potentially rebound pretty well. But then they have the Jets, the Lions, the Packers, the Ravens. And then really, the only two potentially guaranteed wins they could have wouldn't be again until they go to New England on December 3rd. No offense to your Patriots, but you and I kind of realizing what the situation that it is right now. And then they face the Broncos. So it's going to be a while. If the Chargers come out, especially against the Chiefs, as 2-4, or more specifically, if they lose against the Bears, does this cost Brandon Staley his job finally?
I would say this right now. So first and foremost, let me just say this: I would have fired him last year. I would have moved on from him quick, fast, and in a hurry. That being said, even though the Chiefs are 5-1. You touched on it, Tony. Kansas City has been struggling to win.
Against everybody.
Everybody. They've been struggling. It's been hard for now. Obviously, the reason being is because again, when you're in the middle of a dynasty, right? Because that's what people think the Chiefs are. It's hard to be able to keep that up.
Yeah.
It's hard, right? Outside of them blowing the doors off the Bears, outside of that, the Jets, it came down to the wire, and it did not look like the same Chiefs. The Vikings, it came down to the wire, and they had let's be honest, some very questionable calls at the end of the game that kind of pivoted towards the Chiefs.
I say, yeah, the Zebra Crew helped out the Chiefs tremendously
in that game. And then obviously they lost week 1 to the Lions, right? By the way, I called it. Lick me, okay? And then in week 2, they played the Jags. This is when the Jags were dog water, bro. This is when we were looking at them like, yo, were we hyping Trevor Lawrence and this team up a little too much? And they didn't even crack 20 points. Week 3, they go bonkers on the game. And everyone is like, yo, they're back. They're looking great. Then they squeak by. They only win by 3 points in a game where Patrick Mahomes was outplayed by Zach Wilson.
Hey, you put some respect on the MILF Hunter's name. Ever since he's seen Donna Kelsey, the MILF Hunter has been a different.
Oh no, yeah, he been on it. But it is the first time in his career where he's been outcompleted. And I'm talking about Patrick Mahomes. He's been outcompleted, outthrown, has less yards, has less touchdowns, and more interceptions than his opposing QB.
Yeah.
And this was against Zach Wilson.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Then after that, they go and play the Chiefs. Oh, I'm sorry, they play the Vikings. 27-20, they end up winning. Right? But again, hey, the Vikings are not a bad team. They just kind of, like I said, I will say this, some of the calls at the end were a little questionable. And then they struggled to put up 19 against the Broncos.
Yep.
And they had to rely on the Broncos offense, literally Brandon Staleying themselves, bro.
Yep.
They had to rely on the offense to shoot themselves in the foot.
Mm-hmm.
So if the Chargers do not get this win, they're going to pull them into the office and they're going to say, bro, for the last, 2-3 years, we've been saying we can compete with the Chiefs.
Yep.
Now I need answers. What is going on?
Yeah.
And eventually, if this team finishes under 500 and he doesn't get fired, then we need to start coming at the Chargers hard. Pause.
Well,
because to employ this level of ineptitude, quite frankly, is asinine.
Yeah.
Because the Broncos got rid of Nathaniel Hackett after a year.
And not even a full year.
Right, not even a full year. And he deserved that. I don't care what anybody says. I don't care how they look now. Nathaniel Hackett still deserved it. But the Broncos saw the writing on the wall and was like, yeah, bump that noise. We're moving on.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's kind of look at their schedule, and you kind of tell me what you think. So they're sitting at 2-3 right now. Their next game is at Kansas City against the Chiefs. So what do you think, win or loss?
How everything's going, I think the Chiefs win it.
Okay, so they're 2-4. Then they host the Bears.
I think they win.
So we'll say 3-4. Then they go to the Jets.
I think they can win that one.
So 4-4. So now they're sitting at 500. Then they host the Lions.
They lose that.
So 4-5. Then they go to Green Bay.
I think they can win that one.
So we're back at 5-5. Then they host the Ravens.
Damn. I'll be generous and I'll give that one to the Chargers. I'm being generous.
Okay, so we'll say 6-5. Then they go to New England to face the Patriots.
Begrudgingly so, that's a loss for us.
So 7-5. Then they host the Broncos.
I'll give them the win.
So 8-5. Then 4 days later, they travel to Vegas to face the Raiders.
And I think they lose because of the short week.
Okay, so they're at 7-6. Yeah, 7-6. Then they host the Bills.
That's a loss.
7-7. Then they go to Denver.
Is it in Denver?
Yes.
I think they split it. I think they lose this one.
Actually, oh no, they'd have to be 8-8 by now. My bad. I can't math. Then their final game is against the Chiefs. But it's at LA. And keep in mind, it's going to be January 7th. So, depending on where the Chiefs stand.
Which is that's also what I'm thinking, because if the Chiefs have it wrapped up, they might just trot out the guys for a quarter and then just throw the game.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with that logic and say that they win, but because the Chiefs already got their seeding, regardless if it's 1 or 2, I think they have their seeding all wrapped up. And they'll just end up resting those guys. So I'll give them the win.
So they would finish 9-8 Obviously, we don't know if they would be a wild card at that point.
No, they would no. You're not. And the reason why I say no is because in the AFC East, there's 2 teams coming from there.
Oh yeah,
right? Because there's 6 teams in the playoffs, right?
It's 7 actually.
7. Oh, right. Because the first, so it's 4 from the 4 division winners.
Yep.
And then the 3 of them with the next best record.
Yep.
So right now, theoretically speaking, it would be Miami, Baltimore, Jacksonville, Kansas City.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Those are the 4, right?
Yeah.
Then Buffalo still needs to get in there.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a team that's gonna be in there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Cincinnati's probably gonna get it together,
mm-hmm.
right? Depending how everything ends up falling, the Raiders might be able to sneak in there.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so I'm looking at it, and it's like 9-8. I don't think 9-8 can sneak you in there.
So if the playoffs started today, so if the season ended and they started today, this is what it would look like for the AFC. Kansas City would be the 1 seed. Miami would be the 2 seed.
Yep.
Baltimore would be the 3. Jacksonville would be the 4. Then your 3 wild card teams are Buffalo, Pittsburgh, and Cleveland. The Chargers would be 13th.
Yep. Because after them, there's a 3-way tie between Indy, Raiders, and Houston.
Indy, Raiders, Houston,
and Jets.
The Jets.
And Cincinnati.
Yeah, and Cincinnati.
So yeah, and that's why I'm saying 9-8 will not be able to get them in the playoffs. And let's be honest here, man. They're not just looking to be in the playoffs. They're not just looking to just skate by. This isn't the Colts.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? This isn't a team that's just like, yo, if we get to the playoffs, man, woof. That's something. Pat ourselves in the back. We'll get blown out. We'll get our blacks blown out, pause in the wild card, and we move on with our lives.
Yeah.
The Chargers aren't supposed to be like that.
No.
Like you said, they're talented offensively and defensively. The fact that they're 2-3 is disgusting. It is disgusting and very upsetting.
Especially with the talent, and even coming from a Cowboys fan, they got Kellen Moore, who statistically, Kellen Moore did wonders for the Cowboys offense. Couldn't finish and hold a game or run the ball when it mattered most, but they could light up the scoreboard with no problem.
Right.
But it is sad, and I do agree. I think if the Chargers finish with another 9-8 season, they have to get rid of Staley, and especially if he actually loses some of those games that maybe we're like, if he loses to the Bears, I think it's over. I think they fire him immediately after that Bears game if they lose to the Bears.
I don't think they would.
You never know, man, but we'll see. But let's move on from the NFL and let's go to college. And we're gonna talk about the Colorado Buffalo, because they lost to Stanford after being up 29-0, and they lose 46-43 in double overtime. You like that, Brian?
I don't like it. I love it. I love it, man. Wow.
Man, those are my 2. Jones Fly-Legged Eagle and Colorado Buffalo.
For sure, that's the best one. For sure.
So,
man.
So Brian, what's your thoughts on what Colorado has just done so far? I had even heard from I think it was T.O. went on a podcast and said that he believes you give Deion 2 more years to be able to really get his system in and be able to get his players. Shedeur should technically still be there maybe, and even the same with Travis Hunter. T.O. went as far to say Deion could be the next Nick Saban with Alabama, but with Colorado. Do you think that is the case, or do you think Colorado is kind of getting a little bit of a reality check of you got to remember it's a new college football, a lot of talent to spread around. You're going to get probably kicked in the teeth a little bit.
Well, I think I agree with T.O. I think if you give him a few years, let him start replacing some of the guys he wants to replace, let him establish something, and I think that's a legitimate possibility. Deion Sanders is not a bad coach.
No.
in the slightest. Right? The main problem that Colorado had, and listen, before I say anything, I understand what happened with Oregon, right? You know, Oregon was desperate for that win. You know, hats off to them for you know being ecstatic about that and being able to win and all that stuff. And I you know, Mazel Tov. I guess that's what I'm supposed to say to them. You know, but they're the same Oregon who lost to Washington, so respectfully, eat my ass. Yeah, nah, fuck them. Yeah, I don't care. You know, you got Bo Nix. Come on, brother. Come on, brother.
From Auburn. From Auburn.
Yeah. How long has this mofo been in college? Because he's a bum. But when I say he's a bum, I'm a hater. I'm a hater. Get out of here, bro. As I was saying, my bad. But here's the problem with Colorado. Because offensive, listen, and I said this coming into the season. I got no worries with them offensively. I'm good with them offensively. If you don't believe me, outside, like the only time they really got mollywopped was against Oregon.
Yep.
That's it. Yeah, the USC game, they started slow the first quarter. But second quarter and on, they took off.
Mm-hmm. And they dropped almost 40, if I remember right.
Yeah, they had 41. And it took OT to put them away.
Mm-hmm.
But here's the problem that I have with Colorado. When you're a team that's that small, and I was talking about this Saturday on my show. When you are that small, you are already at a wild disadvantage. Their linebackers, their cornerbacks, and their defensive linemen are the same size.
Yep.
So that means I can't blitz you like that. Colorado already is not a very high blitzing team. They're not really a high blitzing team already. And the reason why they don't is because they know, we ain't got the guys to do that.
Yeah, they can easily get overpowered. Like you said, they're so small. You know what they kind of remind me of? And I don't know if you remember. Do you remember it was shortly after their like NFC championship runs. It was like the Philadelphia Eagles from like 2006 to like 2011, 2012-ish. They weren't real big guys. They were small, fast guys that tried to get after the quarterback. And it didn't work. And that's what Colorado reminds me of. Because if you had a big, powerful offensive line, it's kind of like that little brother trying to like run and hit the older brother, and he's just holding him by the palm of his head. Like, yeah, you're not going anywhere. But that's
that's it. And that's the problem with Colorado, where like defensively, and this is the problem. Outside of their very first week, the first week they were very disciplined. Since then, they've been one of the most undisciplined teams in football. Mm-hmm. And a majority of those penalties are coming on the defensive end. And it's coming when they get burnt and they're getting out, like the physicality ain't there. So they can't jam at the line. You can't jam. Because when you do that, you're off balance already and you're not that big. So you're having guys only just smack you out. Like, yo, get this fly away from me. Mm-hmm. Then they're getting beat, and then they're grabbing guys by their jersey, grabbing them by their arm and trying to keep up. Mm-hmm. So you're a small team defensively. Like I said, offensively, it doesn't faze me at all. Yeah. But defensively, you're small, right? Mm-hmm. And I know about small, so I'm allowed to speak on this. You're small, and then you gotta play fast because when you're that size, you can't try to be physical. You can't. So you gotta try to play fast. Yeah. Right? Now again, when you're small and fast, I know about it, so I can speak on it. It never works.
And it doesn't last long.
It doesn't. I should know. How do you think I got 2 kids? Like, I know about small and fast. I'm a professional there. I have a college degree and 2 quick, bro. Like, they call me Quick Chubbs for a reason, bro.
I figured they call you Stinger.
Nah, bro. They used to call me that. They used to. But after, like, you know how, like, when a bee loses a stinger, it dies? I don't die. I just kill whoever I just stung with because, now they're stuck with me. Feel me? But, like.
Well, I figured your stinger just got a little bit dull. It's not as sharp as it once when you were a young bee.
It's supposed to be sharp?
It's supposed to be.
I got to talk to my doctor then because, man, I'm definitely lacking. But like the thing with Colorado is when your defense is that small, too many penalties, you're getting pushed around, it automatically puts you at a disadvantage where offensively you have to score almost every single possession. You can't afford to punt the ball away.
Mm-hmm.
Because when that starts happening, now you're looking at what happened at Stanford. Going into the half.
Mm-hmm.
Let me say that one more time so that way people hear me. Going into that, it was over. 29-0 Colorado.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And it was lovely. Look, they started off in the first quarter, they had 2 touchdowns. One of them was to Xavier Weaver, the other one was to Travis Hunter. Both passes. Looked great, right?
Mm-hmm.
Second quarter, boom. Another pass to Xavier Weaver, right? Then they go for the 2-point conversion. After that, Xavier Weaver, cute little play. He ends up running the ball and that's a touchdown, right? 29-0. Okay? And the third quarter, Stanford opens up with a touchdown. Okay, cool. They try to do a 2-point conversion, fail. But that's fine. They still got something. And by the way, Alec Ayomanor, big ups to him. Most yards in one game in the history of big ups to him, by the way, because Buddy had a game.
Yeah.
But then he comes back with 2 touchdowns of his own, back to back. And these were deep. This isn't something that's like, because again, the first touchdown, Bryce Farrell, it was a 2-yard run. Okay, you're almost there. It is what it is, right?
Mm-hmm.
The second touchdown, they gave up a 97-yarder. Then they gave up a 60-yarder. So those are 2 big plays that they ended up scoring on, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then, and by this point, going into the fourth, it is now 29-19. It's still a 10-point lead. They still got something, right?
Mm-hmm.
Fourth quarter, Lamson, he ends up getting a 1-yard run. Now, and then they make the point after. So now it's 26-29. Now you're looking at your offense like, you got to give us something. Because obviously the defense ain't worth a lick.
Mm-hmm.
They're not worth a lick, right? Mm-hmm. So what happens? Okay, Travis Hunter with a 16-yard, Shador hits him with a 60-yard dot to Travis Hunter. That's a touchdown. Boom, 36-26. Everything's good. What happens? Touchdown. They give up a touchdown, and then they give up the 46-yard field goal. It's tied up. Overtime. Colorado scores, so the offense is giving you something. So you can't look at the offense and say, where you at? You can't do that because the offense is giving you something, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Shador hits Antonio for a 4-yard kick or 4-yard pass. And then what happens? How does Stanford score? A 30-yard touchdown to force a second overtime. Every single touchdown that was a pass. Outside of one of them that was in the fourth quarter. It was just that the fourth quarter one, it was just a 3-yard pass. Every other touchdown that was a throwing touchdown, the shortest completion was 30 yards. 30.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that doesn't, and don't even get me started with the 17 penalties for 127 yards. Don't even get me started with that. Yeah. Don't even get me started, because I will catch an aneurysm. So don't even get me started with that foolishness. Don't. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm looking at a team that's like, bro, explain to me how this happens. Explain to me defensively. And I said this before. They just, listen, I understand you got dogs, and that's adorable. You feel me? Mm-hmm. And I understand you got dogs, but unfortunately, bro, this ain't the puppy bowl. Nope. I don't need dogs like that right now, bro. Because if I had dogs like that, bro, I'd be on the Animal Planet right now, bro. I'd be seeing a cute little dachshund just with a stuffed animal running. That's where I would be at, bro. Mm-hmm. I'm with you with the leaders and dogs thing. But when your dogs are the height of a dog, That's not good.
Nope.
What am I supposed to do with that? So for me, offensively, I'm okay with Colorado offensively. Defensively, and the penalties are absolutely hamstringing this team.
Mm-hmm.
Now, obviously, after this season, Colorado already had a lot of attention. Now they're going to get even more attention. They'll be able to go and actually go out there and recruit guys. They'll be able to look at the transfer portal and all that stuff. And then they'll be able to bolster themselves up.
Mm-hmm.
So I do agree with T.O. in terms of you give him a few years. You let him go get the guys he wants. And we got a different conversation.
Yeah. Now, I will say, though, there's good and bad with that, because you also have to remember, after this year, Colorado leaves the Pac-12 and they actually go back to the Big 12.
Yep.
With 3 of their Pac-12 teammates also coming with them. So, and I don't know what Colorado's schedule is, but I'll have to pull it up here for next year. But as of right now, as far as who they're going to eventually have to face, does it have? No, it doesn't have their schedule for next year. Darn it. But the potential teams they're going to have to face next year, they're going to have to face Arizona and Arizona State.
Which I have no fears with them at all.
No, but they're going to have to face Baylor, who
that one's gonna be a battle.
They're going to have to face BYU, who I'm not completely sold on BYU. They're one of those. I know they always get hyped. They get ranked always in like the low teens, 20s for whatever reason, but I've never really sold on BYU. They're going to have to potentially face Cincinnati.
That's going to be one.
I'm not completely sold on Cincinnati or Houston. Like Houston, BYU, and UCF, all 4 of the new teams that joined the Big 12 this year. I'm not completely sold on them really giving Colorado a big run for their money. But those are obviously the 4 newest teams to the Big 12. They're going to have to face Iowa State, Kansas, who last couple of years, Kansas is starting to become some dogs themselves.
Yep, they're getting it together.
Kansas State, who won the Big 12 last year from TCU, and has been pretty decent the last few years. Oklahoma State, also been pretty decent.
Yeah, and the condition they are right now, Oklahoma State stomping the mess out of them.
TCU, who again not that far removed from the national title, although they've dropped a few this year. But I kind of expected that. You don't really get to catch lightning in a bottle twice and have a magical run, especially with all the people that they lost. Texas Tech, who again kind of up and down.
Right.
Utah, who comes with them.
Woo! That's honestly that's the one for me, to be honest with you. Of all of them that's going, Utah is the one they gotta keep an eye on.
And then honestly, and Pride, you tell me if I'm kind of off kilter for saying this, the team that to me has surprised me with how well they've done so far this year, West Virginia, who's sitting 3rd in the Big 12 right now at 4-2 overall.
For sure.
So, who beat Pitt, they beat Texas Tech, they beat TCU. Now they did lose a literal Hail Mary last play against Houston, 41-39. But other than that, I mean, West Virginia's been right there in it.
I was about to say real quick, like they lost a literal Hail Mary.
Yep.
So like, you know what I mean? And then I think they lost. What was it?
They lost the very first game to Penn State.
Penn State,
38-15.
Which, okay, but at the same time, for me, it just felt like West Virginia was just trying to get it together. It was the first game. It almost felt like they didn't care if they lost.
Yeah.
As long as they walked away with, okay, this is what you can do in an in-game situation. This is our jump ball guy. This is our 3rd and short guy. Like it almost felt like that's what they were doing. But they kind of had an idea of it. But they were like, as soon as they started playing, and against Penn State's not bad. You know what I mean? I think they're top 7 right now.
Yeah.
So it's like it's not like they're not bums, but it almost felt like they were like, oh wait, the guy that we thought was our jump ball guy, he can't really do jump balls. He's a speed demon. He could be our deep threat. And it kind of felt like they were kind of adjusting themselves on the fly. So they were like, look, if we lose, it is what it is. We're just trying to go out there and make sure we go, okay, look, this is your role. This is a role where we've seen you in a game against a very good team, and we're putting you in this role. So that's kind of what it was for me. But other than that, like you said, a Hail Mary away. So I'm with you there. West Virginia, they definitely shocked the mess out of me. I'm not even gonna lie.
So with all that and all the teams that they're going to potentially have to face, I kind of get what T.O. was saying with he could potentially be the Nick Saban. I would want to give it longer, and I want to see how they'll do in the Big 12. Because for whatever reason, the Pac-12 this year, even though they're basically non-existent, gone next year, the Pac-12 is like, we're going to go with a bang. We're going to have probably some of the best teams, one of the deepest conferences. At one point, they had like 6 teams ranked in the top 25 at the beginning of the season. Oregon State and Washington State are both like, yeah, we may not technically have a home after next year, but we're going to be ranked in the top 20 for consistently now the last few weeks, which is surprising. But yeah, I'm kind of interested to see how Dion responds and if he does like beef up his defense or not. Because honestly, from what I'm seeing right now, he's kind of doing what Lincoln Riley is doing. I'm just solely going to worry about offense, which is surprising because Dion was a defensive player. Like, I'm just worried about the offense. Defense, you're just there because I technically have to have 11 guys on the other side of the ball to potentially stop the other team from scoring. It's really the only reason why you're here. So hopefully, go ahead.
And just to kind of piggyback off of that, I feel like the reason why him and Lincoln Riley are doing that is because when at this point, that's all you can do. You know what I mean? You can't just go out and just like, oh, let's see if we can go get someone for the transfer portal. Like, no, like the pickings are slim if there's any at all.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like once you're at this point of the season, you're kind of like, some teams are 6 games in, some are 7 games in, but they're looking at it like, well, this is what I got.
Yeah.
Like, this is it. Like, I'm rocking with this because there's nothing else I can really do. Unless I'm lucky and a guy literally falls from above and he literally falls in the middle of my field, I'm rocking with this.
Yeah.
And you kind of then you have to favor, okay, which is better? Like, again, it's the same thing, except I think the difference with USC, I think they're just garbage defensively. I just think the players are just bad. I don't think it's a size thing. I think it's a skill thing. They're just bad.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No, I agree. And one of those that's been the consistent issue with Lincoln Riley his entire time. And honestly, that's why I can't take USC seriously as true national title contenders, is because their defense is absolute garbage. But speaking of, we'll roll that into our last topic of the night. Pride, I don't know about to you. College football has seemed off this year. Like last year, you kind of had some clear-cut favorites because you had some teams lose in pretty shocking fashion. But then, of course, you had some players get injured. But this year, I feel like it's even more weird. Like like last year and year before, you could say, okay, well, technically, Georgia is still the team to beat until it's said otherwise. Now, Georgia is still winning, not in the Georgia way that we're used to, but Georgia is still winning. And to go through kind of the quick top 25 real quick, Georgia is still number 1. Michigan is still number 2, albeit neither team has really faced anybody that is true competition worthy. Ohio State is 3, but there's a lot of questions at quarterback there. Florida State is number 4. Been kind of up and down with them. Washington moved up to 5 with their win over Oregon. Oklahoma is 6. Then Penn State, Texas, Oregon drops down to 9. North Carolina all the way up into the top 10. Alabama riding right at number 11, which I'm ecstatic about. Fuck Bama.
Yeah.
You got Oregon State at 12. Ole Miss, Utah, Notre Dame drops up to 15. You've got Duke, Tennessee, USC dropped all the way from 10 down to 18. LSU, Missouri, Louisville, Air Force, Tulane, Iowa, and UCLA, according to the AP Top 25.
And by the way, big ups to the Air Force. Big ups to them. Because 6-0, top 22. Nah, big ups to them. Big ups to them. Big ups to them. Feel me? Because, feel me? Are you in the Army?
No, I served in that branch. Fuck the Air Force.
Yeah, Air Force says fuck you too. Because
they really did.
Bro. But nah, big ups to them, bro. Because, like, honestly, bro, when is the last time that a military branch team was ranked?
Oh, it's not that they haven't been ranked, because I'll be honest, Army has been ranked. Again, it's kind of the same. They're in the low teens to early 20s. I feel like that's pretty recent. I'm gonna look real quick.
Fact check that, because I feel like I don't think it was that recent. Now I could be wrong, so that's why I'm telling you to fact check me.
But Pride, do you have anybody while I'm googling this? Do you have anybody that you feel is like true, like college football favorites to potentially win the national title?
Honestly, no, man. Like this year's been weird. It really has been. Again, like Georgia, like, and here's the reality of it, man. Georgia, to your point, they've been winning, but now it's like you're starting to see a little bit of a chink in the armor in Georgia. It's not the same, right?
Yeah.
Same thing with Michigan, right? Ohio State, like you said, the whole quarterback thing. Florida State, again, not only a little bit of inconsistency, but my fear, offensively, they're fine. My fear is the defense. That level of inconsistency on the defensive end is very, very scary. But yeah, I mean, outside of them, I mean, Oklahoma, not really. Penn State doesn't scare me. Texas, who gives a shit? I mean, Oregon, fuck Bo Nix, man. I mean that with all due disrespect. North Carolina, MJ went to that school, so fuck them. Who gives a shit? Alabama at 11. Let's put them down at 15. Let's unrank them. Who cares about Bama? Feel me? Roll Tide them out the top 25, bro. Bums.
Well, look, I'm going to be honest. And here's why I say this. And I can actually say this as not only as a Bama hater, but as somebody truly objective. Ever since that loss to Texas, that kind of showed where Bama's at. And Bama, the same thing as Georgia. Bama has not been like just absolutely crapping on opponents like they used to. Like the quarterback situation in Alabama is probably the worst I've seen it since Nick Saban took over. Like Jalen Monroe is not the guy. Tyler Buckner is not the guy. Ty Simpson, not the guy. So they've had 3 different quarterbacks. None of them have been the guy. Now they're getting wins. Like again, the only loss they have is against Texas, but they're not true quality wins. And even if they are, they're not really beating anybody wholeheartedly to where I'm like, man, kind of like last year, it's like Alabama is still probably one of the toughest teams to face. They just had 2 losses against Tennessee and LSU, 2 other very good teams last year. It's like this year, no, you're right at about 11. I would put about 10 other teams probably ahead of you before I'd be like, yeah, now I'm worried about Bama.
And not only that, like I'm looking at all of it, and this is like, and I'll be honest here, like let's say you would do an all-time top, like an all-time bracket thing, right? Like the winner of every single college football year, right? And then you try to rank them, right? In like a top 25 or top 50 or whatever, right? I think whoever would win this year is on the bottom tier of that.
Yeah.
Like I've not seen anything that, and again, I watched Georgia last year, right? You feel me? I was screaming Stetson Bennett's the GOAT, right? Now the buddy's an alcoholic and got kicked off the Rams. Go figure, right? But like, I looked at Georgia and I'm like, yo, Georgia is clearly the team to beat. I cannot, even though I believe they're number 1.
Yeah.
I cannot say, yo, they're the clear-cut favorites, or not that because they are the favorites. But if you were to tell me you need to bet money against Georgia, against Michigan, I would do it comfortably. Same thing with Ohio State. Same thing with Florida State. Heck, if the only team I will not bet against Georgia is Oregon, because fuck Bo Nix, right? But
and that would be the one that they would lose.
100%, bro. That's the luck I have. But for me, man, it it is very obviously. I like Georgia. If I'm not allowed to pick Georgia, I do think Florida State, because even though their defense is a little inconsistent, they could snap back into it real quick.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So you see them for a couple of series, couple sets where their defense is a little lacking, and then all of a sudden someone gets slapped on the sidelines and then they get it together.
Yeah.
So I would do that. I would have Florida State as my second favorite.
Okay.
Even though they're fourth, I would put them second. And then I would put Ohio State fourth, and then I would put Michigan third.
Okay.
In terms of like my favorites right now. If I have to pick a dark horse, for me, I'm gonna sound crazy, man, but honestly, if I had to pick a dark horse, I'm picking Utah.
Ooh, okay.
If I gotta pick a dark horse.
Right.
I think offensively, you know what I mean? Like I think offensive, defensively, they're very well rounded. It's a situation where I look at them, and if defensively they're slacking and they're struggling defensively, that's a team where offensively they'll be like, "Oh yeah, don't trip, bro. We got y'all." Like, you know what I mean? Just let's all breathe and let's hold hands, sing kumbaya. Everyone get on the same page. We'll be okay. And same thing. If the offense is messing up, I feel like defensively they can hold it down. I feel like there's great camaraderie. It's a great team. So me personally, if I have to pick a dark horse, I'm gonna pick Utah. Fuck Notre Dame. Fuck USC. Also, I want to say F you too. Go Air Force. And in case I ain't seen in a long time, fuck Bama.
And just so you know, Pride, you know who Utah lost to?
Who they lose to?
The Oregon State Beavs. The Beavers. 21-7.
I love Beavers, bro.
Like honestly, it's like, Dan, I want to root for Oregon State so bad now. Just as kind of like that last middle finger to the Pac, like the Pac-12, the Big 12, all of them. Like, nah, we're beating everybody we're not supposed to beat.
Facts.
But I do actually have an answer finally to your question on last time the military schools were all ranked and what they're ranked at. So last time the Army was ranked was in 2020, the COVID year. They're ranked number 22 at one point.
Okay.
Highest they've been most recently is 2018. They were even ranked up as high as 19th overall. Navy was ranked in 2019 as highest they got up to was 20th overall. And then Air Force this year, obviously they're ranked at 22, and previously, as far back as 2019, they were also ranked at 22. Huh. So all of them, like I said, they like high 20s, low teens is usually where they go into as far as like if they come into the playoffs and whatnot. For me, if I kind of have to pick, I would say a collegiate favorite. I'm probably going to go your route. To me, honestly, it's Georgia's crown to lose. Until someone like truly beats Georgia, and I'm not saying like beats Georgia by like a walk-off field goal. I'm saying like just dominates Georgia. It's Georgia's crown to lose. I'm going to go with Georgia. I don't believe in Michigan right now, and I say that because of their past couple of years going into the playoffs and just getting absolutely stomped.
So it's like the Notre Dame effect right now for them.
Pretty much, because you look at Michigan the last couple of years. So the first year that they finally beat Ohio State, that was like the only high they were riding. Like that was their national title.
That saved Harbaugh's job right there.
Like that was the national title for them, was just beating Ohio State. They literally got smoked by Georgia. Like, we don't care, we beat Ohio State. And yeah, like you said, they literally saved Jim Harbaugh's job. To me, I'm like, okay, you guys didn't really take it seriously. Okay. So then last year comes around. They're dominating, they're rolling. They beat Ohio State again, and they beat them in Columbus, Ohio. It's like, okay, Michigan's taking it seriously. And then they go up against TCU. And honestly, I think what happened, Michigan's like, we're going to beat TCU. TCU ain't nobody. We're ready for Georgia. We're doing Georgia practice. And they got their nuts stomped in by TCU, who ended up also getting their nuts stomped in by Georgia like 2 weeks later.
Yeah.
So,
and I remember that because then everyone was like, then everyone started trolling Michigan, like, yo, hold on, time out. You lost to TCU, and then TCU got walloped on. Imagine what Georgia would have done to you.
Oh man, it'd have been just as ugly if not worse. Like honestly, Ohio State versus Georgia, that was truly the national title game because that was far better and far more interesting overall.
For sure.
Honestly, I don't know if I could really put Ohio State at 3. I think if I had to pick like a top 4, I would switch Michigan with Washington because I really like what Michael Penix is doing. I thought he did great for IU when he was with them during the COVID year. He's done fantastic.
So you're putting Washington 2.
Putting Washington at 2.
Okay.
I would have to agree. I'd probably put Florida State at 3. And then honestly, I'm going to put Penn State at 4. I say that because
Oklahoma.
Over Oklahoma, because I'll give my explanation as to why. So
let me hear it.
Ohio State, I don't really believe in Kyle McCord. Like he's had 6 games now to kind of get into like a groove, get into a rhythm with the offense, and it's like it's just still not there. When you have one of the best wide receivers in Marvin Harrison Jr., you have Emmanuel Ibuka, or Emeka Ibuka, my bad. And you have a pretty good defense behind you, and you have Travion Henderson as your running back. And again, Ohio State's not really like dominating over people like they have been with C.J. Stroud and Justin Fields. So it's like I can't really trust Ohio State. I say Penn State over Oklahoma because do you remember what happened to Oklahoma last year?
I think so.
So Oklahoma last year, I'm gonna pull up their schedule. So they started out 3-0. Okay, they're rolling pretty good. Then they lose 3 in a row. They got blown out by Texas.
Yeah.
And then they win 2, they lose 2, they win, and then they lose. So it's like I don't give them as much credit because I don't know how Brent Venables is as a coach.
I mean, I don't think that's fair.
And I don't hate it, but I'll say this too. Prior to beating Texas, and I'll ask you this too, and how much of this was really Texas just kind of buying into their own burnt orange Kool-Aid and getting drunk off of it.
Right.
Oklahoma didn't really face any true competition up to that point. Like they beat Arkansas State 73-0. They beat SMU 28-11, Tulsa 66-17, Cincinnati they only beat 20-6. Iowa State they dropped 50-20, and then they were able to beat Texas 34-30, and really they controlled that whole entire game. But again, how much of that was Oklahoma truly being a great team who statistically and realistically they've been carried pretty heavily by their defense, and how much of that was Texas just buying their own crap and getting drunk off of it?
So here's where I disagree with that, because obviously I understand what you're saying about Texas, drinking their own thing, but let's be honest here, right? Like, I understand what you're saying in terms of like, they played Arkansas State and then Tulsa. I understand that, right? Mm-hmm. But I don't think it's fair to penalize them for that when they go and play a ranked team and handle their business.
True.
So I would, in my view, I'm not a guy who goes. I think when you're looking at a team to determine whether or not they're good or not, I think the strength of schedule, that should be the third thing you talk about.
Oh yeah, well,
because you know what I mean. So it's kind of like if you're stomping out the bums like you're supposed to, and then you play a ranked team and you handle your business, I'm good with it. Yeah. I'm solid with it. You know what I mean? I'm all right with it. So for me, it's like me personally, I'm not putting Penn State over, and then maybe it's just me. I don't like. Let me preface this by saying this. Fuck Pittsburgh.
Fair.
Fuck Pennsylvania. I need to preface, because I feel like if I don't preface it by saying that, people are going to get mad at me.
Yeah.
But if we go by your logic, Penn State only played one ranked team.
And they only played Iowa.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And Texas was ranked higher than Iowa when Oklahoma played them, and they're still ranked higher now.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So for me, it's like I'm the type of dude where I'm not going to hold your past against you unless you're doing it for 3, 4, 5, 6 times. Like Notre Dame, that's like a millennia. That they look good in the regular season and they get their butt cheeks ripped come playoffs, right?
Yep.
And they've done that for years.
Mm-hmm.
I think people, and I've heard a lot of people say the same thing you say, where, I mean, yeah, Oklahoma, but, and then they go to last year. I think we're starting to jump the gun on that a little bit, because had Oklahoma done that for the past 3 years, all right, I'm with you, because now that's a culture thing, and now you gotta look at, because you don't have those same players, you got different players. Now we gotta start looking at the culture and coaching and all that stuff, right? Mm-hmm. But 1 year, I'm not gonna go against Oklahoma just yet, especially considering, and Antonio, I think you gotta admit this, Oklahoma this year is performing far better as an overall collective team than Oklahoma last year.
Oh, 100%.
And I don't even think it's close. You know what I mean? So for that, it's like I'm willing to give Oklahoma an opportunity. And for me, listen, they're cashing it in, and they're doing what they're supposed to do.
Yeah.
You
well, and I'll say this.
But again, let me reiterate this. Mm-hmm. Fuck Pennsylvania. So take what I said with a grain of salt or something, bro. Because I do not like Pennsylvania.
Oh, I don't either, especially Philly. I can't stand Philly. But
isn't that your football team though? Aren't you an Eagles fan?
Absolutely not. But I will say too, for Penn State's credit, and kind of using the same logic that I used as far as dismissing Oklahoma, I'm going to kind of use to elevate Penn State. You look at Penn State last year. Penn State finished really well last year. They only had 2 losses, and that was to number 5 Michigan and number 2 Ohio State. Michigan they got stomped. They kept it close initially, then Michigan ended up running away with it. Ohio State, they kept even closer. Then Ohio State's defense took that personally and was like, "Yeah, no, that's not happening."
If I'm not mistaken, they kept it close up until the fourth quarter. Fact check me on that. But I believe the fourth quarter is when things started getting a little out of hand, and that was just Penn State. They looked just exhausted. Oh, and it was a very physical game all throughout.
Oh, 100%. And yeah, and that's exactly why. And a lot of that team still came back this year for the Penn State. Now, obviously, Penn State's going to have its toughest test this coming weekend, and honestly, to me, if Penn State beats Ohio State, and it's in Columbus, Ohio State's ranked number 3 right now. It's probably going to be one of the biggest matchups of this coming weekend.
Oh, for sure.
If they manage to beat Ohio State in Ohio State, that to me would put them honestly over Oklahoma. Because again,
I'll be honest, I want to see how they win against Ohio State. Because I'm not even going to say dominating, but if they hold their own and it's like two teams swinging back and forth and they hold their own, I think you'll be fine with that.
Yeah,
I would be okay with it. But if it's a situation where they accidentally win, I mean you're gonna have to move them up because obviously they won. But I don't know. I want to see how they win first. I want to see if they win. I'm very curious to see how they win because I respectfully, I don't think they're beating Ohio State. But to your point, if they go out there, handle business, and they win in Columbus, Ohio, as much as I hate them, they'll be undeniable.
Oh yeah. So yeah, I mean, and it's really nothing. Well, it is kind of against Oklahoma. I had a roommate that was a Sooners fan, I really don't have anything against them, and it's like it's been like 10 years since I've seen this dude, so I really shouldn't have any hate against them anymore. They've been honestly irrelevant ever since Hurts, Mayfield, and Murray all left. But yeah, I don't know, man. It's just something I'm like I can't trust Oklahoma, and again, it's probably just from last year. And so it's like I have a little bit more faith in Penn State because of what I seen them do against Michigan and Ohio State last year. But no, I get what you're saying though. But nonetheless, it has been a crazy college football season so far. We got what 5 weeks left, I think.
I mean, some 5, some 6.
Yeah, depending on the team, because there's bye weeks and whatnot. But nonetheless, though. But Pride, man, it has been a blast. I appreciate you coming on, as always. It's been awesome. Appreciate you, man. For everybody listening, hope you enjoyed the show. If you like what you saw, please follow me on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram, and TikTok at Inside the Hoosier Mind, on X, formerly known as Twitter. It's at IN Hoosier Mind. And then Pride, tell everybody where they can find you, man.
At Prideful Takes on Facebook, YouTube, and I still call it Twitter. I refuse to be absorbed by Elon Musk. It is the only sense of identity I have right now, so I will continue to call it Twitter.
It's a pirate thing now. You got to find the treasure. It's the X. X marks the spot.
Oh, brother, man, what a time to be alive, man.
Do you watch Star Wars?
Of course.
Did you watch Ahsoka?
Not yet, but I heard it is a banger.
It is. It's absolutely awesome. And how dare you disrespect blue Elon Musk by not calling it X? Because he literally absorbed the Twitter bird and became blue. How dare you?
Listen, man, Elon Musk is on a whole nother level. I still want to see him versus Mark Zuckerberg. Forget these YouTubers, Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg. The UFC has bought WWE. Book it, Vince. This is the only opportunity we'll be able to see it.
He doesn't have power anymore. He lost it. It's all Triple H's now.
Let's be honest. Vince is waiting in the wings. He's waiting like Darth Sidious. The first time we saw Darth Sidious, he's just like, that's Vince right now. And the only difference is imagine Darth Sidious with like a dyed mustache, and that's Vince right there.
And the comb back hair.
Yeah. Well, you won't see it because he's got the hood up. He's got the hood up, right? And then it's like Triple H. He's like, man, should I bring back The Rock or something? And then it's just Vince in the back. Do it.
That was my first thought. Do it.
Yeah, do it. Yeah. Oh, what a time to be alive, bro. Oh, man.
But it's been fun, though. I hope everybody enjoyed the show.
Yes, sir.
I will hopefully be back. Well, I probably won't be back next week because I am traveling a lot the next couple weeks. But I will be back in about 2 weeks, though. Hopefully with Pride, maybe with Mike or Rob. We'll kind of see what they're doing, if they're off doing their own thing or not. But again, everybody have a good night, and we'll see y'all next time. Peace.